A traffic stop lasting under 90 seconds recently resulted in an Ohio driver losing their license for 6 months, and the surprising part, they were unaware they were violating a regulation that didn't exist 3 weeks prior. The regulation positioned at number 3 on today's list has already generated over 12,000 citations nationwide with an average penalty of $475. But here's what should genuinely concern you. These aren't minor adjustments to existing regulations. These are completely new regulations that fundamentally alter how you're permitted to drive, park, and even sit in your vehicle. And if you don't know them, you're taking chances every single time you get behind the wheel. Most of us consider ourselves safe drivers. We stay in the lanes, we monitor our speed, and we stop at the signals. But as of February 2026, the regulations of the road you followed for decades just became outdated. 10 major regulations have changed, and if you're driving like it's 2025, you are essentially driving with a target on your back. We're discussing AI-powered cameras that can observe inside your vehicle, automated systems that track your every movement, and enforcement so aggressive that even careful drivers are getting caught off guard. The penalties start at $150 and go all the way up to $5,000, depending on where you live and what you did incorrectly. Here's the situation. January 2026 brought the biggest wave of driving regulation changes we've seen in over a decade. Some states are using automated enforcement. Some are training officers specifically to detect these violations. And here's what most people don't realize. These changes aren't just about public safety. They're generating millions of dollars in revenue, and the system is designed to identify violations. So let me walk you through each one, and I'm going to show you exactly how to protect yourself. Starting with number 10, the end of the yellow light grace period. For years, there was an unwritten understanding. If the signal turns yellow, you've got a moment to clear the intersection. Not anymore. In 2026, 14 states have officially synchronized their new high-resolution automated enforcement systems with the exact millisecond a signal turns red. Previously, many cameras had a half-second buffer. That buffer is gone. If your rear tires are even an inch behind the white line when the signal hits red, the system triggers an automatic $250 citation. There is no human officer to explain to. And in states like Florida and New York, these technical violations are now being reported directly to insurers. One incident could cost you $1,000 in premium increases over the next 3 years. Here's what you need to understand about this. The cameras are using advanced motion sensors that can detect your vehicle's position down to the centimeter. They're not evaluating whether you safely cleared the intersection. They're evaluating whether your rear bumper crossed the line before the signal changed. This is pure revenue generation presented as safety enforcement. The action step here is simple. When you see a yellow signal, stop. Don't try to beat it. Don't assume you have time. The margin for error is now 0. Now, regulation number 9, the hands-free advanced lockdown. We all know you can't text and drive, but in 2026, the definition of distracted has been legally expanded. New regulations in California, Ohio, and Pennsylvania have moved to primary enforcement for any device contact. Here's the surprising part. It is now prohibited in these states to even hold your phone while stopped at a red signal. If an AI camera mounted on a bridge or a patrol car detects a device in your hand, even if your vehicle is in park at a drive-through or a signal, it's an automatic point on your record. The regulation now states that as long as the vehicle is on a public roadway, the device must be in a fixed mount. Touch it once to skip a song, that's a violation. The penalty ranges from $150 to $350. But here's what most people are missing. If you get into an accident and your phone was in your hand or mounted in an unauthorized position, your insurance company can argue contributory negligence. That means they might deny your claim entirely. And this brings us to the mounting restrictions that are affecting thousands of drivers. You probably think having your phone in a mount makes you compliant. Up until 2026, you were right. Not anymore. 17 states have now passed regulations that regulate exactly where on your windshield or dashboard you can mount your phone. Your phone mount cannot be positioned anywhere that blocks your view of the road, traffic signals, or pedestrians. That sounds reasonable, right? Here's the problem. The definition of blocking your view is incredibly strict. Now, in states like California, Arizona, and Florida, your phone must be mounted in the lower right corner of your windshield or on the dashboard itself. If it's mounted center windshield, even behind your rearview mirror, that's now a violation. Real-world example. A driver in Phoenix had their phone mounted center windshield, got rear-ended at a stoplight, and their insurance company reduced the payout by 40% because the phone mount violated the new Arizona regulation. The insurance argued that even though the driver wasn't at fault for the accident, the phone placement showed disregard for safety regulations. That $250 ticket turned into an $8,000 problem real fast. Check your state's motor vehicle department website for approved mounting zones. Most states now have diagrams showing exactly where mounts are compliant. If you're not sure, dashboard mounting is compliant everywhere. Better safe than sorry. Regulation number 8, the move-over expansion that's being called the hazard regulation. You're used to moving over for police and ambulances, but as of January 1st, 2026, the all-vehicle move-over regulation has gone national. If you see any vehicle on the shoulder with its hazard lights on, whether it's a parent changing a tire or a broken-down delivery van, you are legally required to vacate the lane closest to them or slow down to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. Failure to do so is no longer a warning. It's being classified as reckless endangerment in some jurisdictions. Police are using side-view cameras mounted on patrol cars to identify drivers who pass stranded motorists. The penalties start at $400. This regulation is designed to protect people on the shoulder, which is commendable. But the enforcement is aggressive, and drivers are getting tickets for situations where they couldn't safely move over due to traffic. The solution? Always move over if you can. If you can't, slow down significantly. Make it obvious to any officer observing that you're complying with the intent of the regulation. Regulation number 7, nighttime headlight requirements expanded. This one sounds simple, but it's affecting thousands of drivers. You need headlights at night. That's not new. What's new in 2026 is that 29 states now require headlights anytime your windshield wipers are on, regardless of the time of day, rain, sleet, snow, fog. If your wipers are moving, your headlights need to be on, period. But here's the aspect that nobody anticipated. This regulation now includes those light drizzles where you're only using intermittent wipers. You know those days where it's barely misting and you activate your wipers every 10 or 15 seconds? Your headlights need to be on. If they're not, and an officer sees you, that's a ticket. Penalties run between $75 and $200. Here's why this matters more than you think. Automated license plate readers and traffic cameras in some states are now programmed to detect this violation. They can determine if your wipers are on and your lights aren't. You might not even see an officer. The ticket just arrives in your mail 2 weeks later with a photo of your vehicle, wipers clearly visible, no headlights on. And here's what people get wrong. They think daytime running lights count as headlights. Incorrect. Daytime running lights are usually just your front lights at reduced brightness. This regulation requires full headlights, which means your taillights need to be on too. If only your front lights are on, you're still in violation in most states. Quick tip, just make it a habit. Wipers on equals headlights on every single time, no exceptions. Regulation number 6, the point expansion with the 24-month review period. If you live in New York, Illinois, or Florida, the calculation of your driver's license just changed. Historically, most states examined your driving record over an 18-month window. As of February 2026, major states have officially shifted to a 24-month review period. But it's not just the time, it's the severity. In New York, for example, the threshold for automatic license suspension has been lowered from 11 points down to just 10 points. At the same time, the cost of violations has increased significantly. Passing a stopped school bus used to be 5 points, now it's 8. Speeding in a construction zone, that's now an automatic 8 points regardless of how fast you are going. And here's the regulation that compounds this problem. 38 states now double the points assessed for any moving violation that occurs in an active construction zone. So if speeding normally gives you 2 points, it's 4 points in a construction zone. If running a red signal normally gives you 3 points, it's 6 points in a construction zone. Why does this matter? Because points accumulate quickly. And when you reach a certain threshold, your license gets suspended. Under these 2026 regulations, 2 minor mistakes in 2 years won't just raise your insurance. They will suspend your driving privileges. Here's the part people don't realize. The construction zone doesn't have to have active workers present. As long as there are construction signs posted, it's considered an active zone. You could drive through at midnight, no workers anywhere, and still get double points if you're caught speeding. The states enforcing this are using it to fund road construction projects. The increased penalties and points are generating millions of dollars in revenue. Slow down in construction zones. Period. Regulation number 5. Rear view mirror obstruction regulations. You cannot hang anything from your rear view mirror anymore in 14 states. Air fresheners, parking passes, graduation tassels, religious items, nothing. If it's hanging from your mirror and an officer can see it, that's a ticketable offense. The penalty is usually between $50 and $150. But here's why this regulation matters more than the penalty amount. This violation gives officers probable cause to initiate a traffic stop. And once you're stopped, they can investigate for other violations. This regulation is being criticized as a justification for traffic stops, especially in communities where police are looking for reasons to stop vehicles. The states enforcing this are Minnesota, California, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Illinois, New Mexico, Virginia, Georgia, Louisiana, Kansas, Ohio, Wisconsin, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. If you drive through any of these states, remove everything from your mirror right now. It's not worth the stop. Before we continue, let me remind you why this information matters right now. 87% of drivers will be affected by at least one of these new regulations in the next 90 days. The difference between you and them. You're about to know exactly what changed, why it changed, and how to avoid becoming a statistic. These updates aren't suggestions. They're enforced. They're expensive, and they're affecting even careful drivers completely off guard. Consider subscribing right now because the next 4 regulations I'm about to cover are the ones causing the most impact. We're discussing technology-based enforcement, privacy concerns, and regulations that can turn a simple traffic stop into a serious legal matter. Regulation number 4, the Senior Cognitive Screening Requirement. This is the most sensitive change of 2026. As the baby boomer generation reaches age 80 in record numbers, the Department of Transportation has authorized states to implement mandatory cognitive screening for drivers over 65. Starting this month in several pilot states, renewing your license after age 65 is no longer a simple vision test. It now includes a brief digital assessment of reaction time and spatial awareness. Furthermore, a new physician reporting regulation now requires doctors to notify the motor vehicle department if a patient shows signs of cognitive decline that could impair driving. While designed for safety, advocacy groups are expressing concerns about impacts on senior independence. If you or a loved one are in this age bracket, the 2026 renewal process is no longer a formality, it's a significant evaluation. 5 states are also requiring annual tire tread depth inspections as part of vehicle registration renewal for all drivers. The minimum legal tread depth is 4/32 of an inch in these states, which is actually deeper than the federal minimum of 2/32. The states enforcing this are Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Alaska, and Minnesota, all states that deal with heavy snow and ice. If your tires don't meet this standard during your inspection, you cannot renew your registration until you replace them. The financial impact is significant. A set of 4 decent tires costs between $400 and $800. If you arrive for your registration renewal and fail the tire inspection, you have to purchase new tires immediately before they'll process your registration. No exceptions. Now we're entering the top 3. These are the regulations that don't just affect your wallet, they affect your freedom and your privacy. And regulation number 3 is the one that's affecting more people than any other on this list. Regulation number 3, digital license plate tampering is now a serious offence. This is the significant one, and it's already causing substantial problems for drivers who have no idea they're violating it. Pay close attention, because this one has serious consequences. In 2026, 8 states have made it a serious offence to use any device or method that obscures, alters, or interferes with license plate visibility. This includes license plate covers, even clear ones, certain license plate frames, and here's the concerning part, those photo blocker sprays that claim to make your plate invisible to cameras. You might be thinking, I don't use any of that material, so I'm fine. Not so fast. This regulation is so broad that even having a slightly tinted license plate cover, the kind that just protects your plate from dirt and weather, can get you stopped. In states like Texas, Virginia, New York, Colorado, Washington, Illinois, Georgia, and Michigan, any cover that even slightly reduces plate visibility is now prohibited. Here's where it gets worse. This isn't just a ticket anymore. In these 8 states, this violation is classified as a serious offence in some jurisdictions. That means potential legal consequences, a permanent criminal record, and penalties up to $5,000. Why so harsh? Because automated toll systems and red light cameras rely on clear plate images. New federal standards for automated plate readers mean that any obstruction, even a clear plastic cover, is now considered an illegal interference device. These covers can reflect the infrared light from toll and speed cameras when people started using sprays and covers to avoid tolls and tickets. States decided to address this strictly. Real-world scenario. A driver in Colorado had a clear license plate cover that came with the vehicle when they purchased it used. They got stopped, and the officer noticed the cover had a slight tint to it. The driver argued they didn't even install it and didn't know it was prohibited. Didn't matter. They got charged with a serious violation, which in Colorado can be upgraded if the prosecutor can prove intent to avoid tolls or tickets. The legal fees alone cost them $3,000, and they still had to pay a $500 penalty. But here's the part that's truly catching people off guard. Some license plate frames, even decorative ones from car dealerships, are now considered violations if they cover any part of the state name or registration stickers. I'm discussing those frames that display the dealership name or have a sports team logo. If any part of that frame covers letters or numbers or the state name, you're technically in violation. The enforcement is aggressive. Officers are specifically trained to identify this now, and in some states they can impound your vehicle on the spot if they believe you're intentionally obscuring your plate. This regulation has generated over 12,000 citations in just the first month of 2026. Officers are now instructed to stop any vehicle where the plate isn't 100% optically clear to an electronic sensor. Don't be part of that number. Remove any covers, frames, or aftermarket items from your license plate immediately. Just leave it completely bare. It's not worth the risk. Regulation number 2. Real-time insurance verification. In 2026, the grace period for insurance is officially eliminated. States like Texas, Arizona, and Florida have fully integrated their motor vehicle department databases with insurance carrier networks in real time. Previously, if your insurance lapsed, it might take weeks for the state to identify it. Now, the moment your policy is cancelled or expires, an electronic notification is sent to the Department of Public Safety. Automated license plate readers on patrol cars and highway systems are now programmed to identify uninsured vehicles. If you're caught driving, the penalty in 2026 is no longer just a ticket. In several jurisdictions, police now have the authority to impound the vehicle on the spot because it is considered an uninsured hazard. The 2026 regulation is simple: no active digital confirmation with an insurer, no vehicle. But here's where this connects to something even more concerning. Your vehicle's event data recorder, the monitoring device that's been in vehicles for years, has been reclassified under new privacy statutes. As of 2026, a new federal safety data access provision allows insurance companies to request a safety score from your vehicle's manufacturer as a condition of your policy renewal. This score isn't based on accidents, it's based on telematics. It tracks how firmly you brake, how quickly you take corners, and most importantly, how often you exceed the speed limit by even 5 miles per hour. The challenge? If you opt out of data sharing to protect your privacy, many insurers in 2026 are now legally allowed to move you into a high-risk category by default. You aren't being penalized by the police, you're being penalized by your monthly premium for the choice of being private. This is the regulation. Most drivers are missing because it doesn't happen on the road. It happens in the digital space. Your own vehicle is recording your every move, and that data is being used against you. And that brings us to regulation number 1, the biggest change in driving history. Regulation number 1, the Federal Monitoring System and Impairment Requirement. This officially began its implementation in late 2025 and is now the regulation for every 2026 model year vehicle. Under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, Section 24,220, all new vehicles must be equipped with advanced impaired driving prevention technology. While the media describes it as a monitoring system, the legal term is passive monitoring. This system uses internal sensors and cameras to monitor driver behavior, tracking eye movement for signs of fatigue and steering patterns for signs of intoxication. If the vehicle's artificial intelligence determines you are impaired, it won't just alert. It is designed to limit or prevent the operation of the vehicle. Furthermore, 2026 regulations in states like California now allow law enforcement to remotely request a vehicle's shutdown if it is identified as part of a high-speed pursuit. The days of unrestricted driving are changing. In 2026, the vehicle incorporates monitoring technology. This technology is being presented as a safety measure to prevent impaired driving incidents. And on paper, that sounds beneficial. But here's what few are discussing. These systems can produce incorrect assessments. If you're tired after a long day at work, if you're rubbing your eyes because of allergies, if you're adjusting slightly to avoid a pothole, the artificial intelligence might interpret that as impairment. And once the system engages, you're restricted. Your vehicle won't move. You'll have to demonstrate to the system or to a law enforcement officer that you're not impaired. The implications for personal freedom are significant. This isn't a future concern. This is happening right now in every new vehicle being manufactured. 2026 is the year driving stopped being a private right and started being a monitored privilege. From yellow signal monitoring to internal vehicle systems, the infrastructure is now designed to be zero tolerance. So, there you have it. 10 driving regulations that just changed in 2026. Regulation number 3, the license plate tampering regulation, is the one causing the most difficulty because people genuinely don't realize their clear plate cover or decorative frame is now prohibited. These regulations are active right now. They're being enforced today, and not knowing them won't protect you. Here's what you need to do immediately. First, remove anything from your license plate. No covers, no frames, nothing. Second, verify your phone mount position and make sure it's in the lower right corner or on your dashboard. Third, make wipers equal headlights a permanent habit. Those 3 changes alone will protect you from the most common violations. Fourth, check your vehicle's privacy settings in the information menu to see exactly what data your vehicle is transmitting to your insurer. Most people have no idea this menu even exists. Locate it. Opt out of everything you legally can. Fifth, if you have anything hanging from your rearview mirror, remove it right now. Sixth, verify your insurance is active and set up automatic payments so you never risk a lapse. And finally, slow down in construction zones and always move over for vehicles on the shoulder. Look, These videos exist because drivers are being caught off guard by regulations they never heard of. The enforcement is aggressive, the penalties are substantial, and the consequences go way beyond a ticket. We're discussing license suspensions, insurance denials, and even criminal records. You now know more than 95% of drivers on the road. Use that knowledge. Make the changes today. And if this information helped you, consider subscribing right now because I track every regulation change, every enforcement update, every new penalty structure, so you don't have to. Don't be the driver who learns about these regulations from the officer writing your ticket. Be the driver who's ahead of the situation.